The host goes back.
Gloria Jean here from Women in Pool with, of course, the amazing Joann Mason Parker, which is that way, and Kristina Tkach, and my phone. Sorry about that. Um, so tonight we're here. First thing we want to do, I'm going to be thanking uh, um, well, my personal sponsor is Tony Russell Hughes, and for Women in Pool, we just brought on
Интернет работает?
Horo
Зай,
Tips.
Зай.
So Joann, feel free if you want to give a shout out to anybody, and Kristina as well.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to say thank you to Navigator Tips and Chalk. Rio, thank you so much for your support. And I'm soon, more than likely, going to have something new to talk about, but not quite yet.
Okay.
Just a tease.
Okay, all right, just a trailer. We got the trailer on that. And Kristina?
I wanted to say thanks to weird behind my ears. Thanks to Predator and the Zone for huge support and reason why I am right now in America. So
Okay.
I should have been in the zone also. That's terrible. Thank you, Kristina, for saying that and mentioning that. Yeah. I mean, people see it online, but then I'm like, Gloria, this is very unusual for a person like me to be at a loss for words. How does that happen?
Yeah. That's because Joann and I were talking about something earlier that kind of, I think, might have pushed that out. So
Maybe.
we want to say hello to Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Andy. Everybody for tuning in. Please give us a share. Help us to get this out there. Women in Pool, by the way, is going to be cross country, running tournaments, or we're supposed to be running tournaments cross country. And I think we're going to be starting in California, also in Rhode Island. We're not exactly sure of the locations yet. We're getting some dates set. So this is really exciting. We're going to be running tournaments, and at the very end, we're going to have a really nice finale with some added money. And I think we're going to keep it at $650 and under in Fargo rate. So I wanted to announce that. So ladies, let me know if you'd like it in your state, and if you would, if there's a tournament director that is Women in Pool approved, and then we can get going there. All right, so we were going to come on tonight and talk about coaching. And first I wanted to start by saying that the two women that I'm sitting with, one is they're both just amazing players. Joann has a huge history. She's a veteran, but Kristina is I don't want to say up and coming by any stretch of the imagination. She has some incredible talent. Tonight we wanted to talk a little bit about coaching, and the reason why I picked coaching tonight is not because of my PBIA and ACS instruction, but Joann did a clinic over when we had the Women in Pool 2000 added, and Kristina is also starting something with her father. Is that correct, Kristina?
right? Yeah, I started already. Yeah, a couple months ago.
So yep. And we're going to be doing over. No, go ahead, Joann, please.
I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Kristina, your dad coached you?
That's where I was going with this.
Okay. So we have that in common.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Didn't know that about you.
Yes.
Yeah, my dad is today now my coach, so.
Yeah, my dad was a pro player back in the 70s.
And if ever either of the fathers want to come on or to talk about the coaching and the collaboration.
My dad will take more English lessons because he can understand, but he can he's so shy to speak, just like a dog, they understand but they can talk. So that's well, fun about my dad is that, but Yeah, that would be awesome if he would be here one day with me in America, and my
You could
mom, of
always,
course.
I could always ask questions. You can translate. We could bring
That's
him
true.
in. Yeah. So both of these women from different generations were coached by their father. And my piddly little thing is that I didn't know why I ever liked pool, because no one in my family played, until I found out a few years ago when my dad came. It was his birthday, and I brought him across the way, and he was about 89, or might have been his 90th birthday, and he stands straight up, and I give him the pool cue, and I'm thinking this is going to be an easy task, and he runs like 5 balls in a row. He has not played pool since he's 18 years old, when he was in the military. I didn't know
Wow.
that he used to play for money. So my father was a money player in the military to get by. So he's standing there, and I have a video of him shooting 9 ball, hugging the rail all the way up at 90 years old. I have to find it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. So that's the closest I got to coaching from my dad. So all right. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'm going to ask uh, the both of you to and I apologize, I'm a little kind of disassembled tonight, for lack of a better term. But to think about some things. Everybody, please write down. Hello, Kyle. How are you? Hello, Laura Berg. Write down some things that you have questions for, because these are free coaching tips. Okay, these are free coaching tips. So if you have a question, write it down. If we're able to answer it for you, we definitely will. Um, uh, and uh, and hey, Crystal, how are you? Um, and we definitely will. But I'm gonna pull up a video that Kristina gave me the okay to pull up, and this is the thought process. Now, a lot of like APA 4s and 5s, they're not going to think about this, and I wanted to bring this up, and then, like I said, get some things from Joann. Hey, girl, how are you, Crystal? Actually, the Crystal and Crystal Atkins is here. All right, so can we pull that video up? And we're gonna just put it up for a second.
The hoes go berserk.
Christina's not able to see it, but there's a video of Kristina, and she's jumping. Can we have a replay on that, please?
The hoes go berserk.
Basically stops the ball, draws a little bit back, shows her predator cue, and and I'm gonna ask Kristina. So there were 2 shots that I really liked. That was one of them, but there was another one where we'll go to this shot first. Kristina, and then Joann, tell us, how do you start the aiming process? This is advanced, but on a jump shot. How do you start the aiming process? Your way, Kristina's way.
So it's not really hard to aim in a jump shots. It's most of the time you miss the ball not because you aim wrong, right? So what I normally do, I go down, just like I would shoot it straight, and then I start lifting my cue. So making sure that I am aligned, and then start elevating my cue and try to keep, this line. But a lot of times, because you elevate your cue, you might shift certain way. So I know for me, every time I go up, I shifted more on the right. So basically, I kind of overcut the ball every time. So I just know that I have this thing, and I try to adjust a little bit. That comes from practicing and looking where you hit, right? So that's my biggest advice. Just go and practice. But also, if you want to be accurate with your jump shots, it's very important not to firstly drop your elbow, because a lot of beginners have a problem of doing that, instead of just doing that. So basically,
Okay,
some
excellent
people use their
advice.
wrist only. Yeah, so making sure your elbow stays there, because if you do that, so doing that, it's not a
Swerve.
like
Yeah.
sport, right? It's not really jumping. Yeah, you can still jump, but if we talk about accuracy, you want to make sure that you keep your elbow in there. And what I would advise is, instead of looking at the object ball, to always look at the cue ball, because a lot of times you miss as well because you put spins accidentally. And to prevent that and increase your accuracy, you make sure that you look at the cue ball and the spot you're willing to hit.
Okay. All right. Joann, please.
So I will definitely concur with a lot of what Kristina said. I think I do a very similar approach. I'll take it a step further just to discuss a little bit about depending upon how far the cue ball is from that object ball that you're looking to jump. Because we jump, we see the pros, we jump in a couple of different manners, right? We jump where our elbow is up, like what Kristina just discussed, and then we have something called the dart method. So the closer you are to that object ball with the cue ball, as you get closer, you may, and then that object ball not as far away from what you're looking to do, what you're looking to hit, you can use the dart method. That's a little bit different than the other shot that Kristina discussed. So I know we don't have a pool table and we're not showing that, we're just talking about it. And so for our auditory learners out there, they'll get this just fine, but that's only about 20% of the population. So my suggestion is actually for people who are in the infancy of learning how to jump, they need to go on YouTube and they need to watch the best players, and they need to really look at the machine that's making the ball. Like Kristina gave a beautiful example and explanation of how she does what she does, which is similar to what I do as well.
Mhm.
But I think a big, and this is a coaching tip right here, and what my dad used to tell me when I was little, 4 years old, yes, my dog is barking. Rivka, quiet. That's my dad coming in right now, by the way.
Hello.
And so he used to tell me, don't look at these balls, look at me. Watch what I'm doing. Look at the machine, because the machine is going to teach you how to do what's going on the table. So when the people go and they go on YouTube, and let's say they're going to Google onto YouTube, great jump shots, let's just say, and they'll see different players. I would look, if I'm 5'4", I would look to emulate somebody who's my same size, because then I'm going to see how high up their elbow is, the kind of bridge work they use in order to be able to copy them. And if they're doing a great job of it already, I'm gonna not look to reinvent the wheel, and I'm gonna look to take a little bit from them and learn from them and try to emulate what I'm looking at and what I see. So I think that's a really good tip, especially for the amateur players.
Yeah.
You see people that maybe are 5'7", they're gonna watch Earl Strickland, who's 6 feet tall, and try to emulate exactly what he does, and it doesn't really exactly make sense. They should watch a guy like Nick Varner then, and look at how he's set up at the table and maybe try to take from him.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is a very common type of a thing that should be done.
Well, my
Yeah.
theory on that there's one unit rule when you're jumping, right? Is if when we talk about how high you have to elevate the cue, right? It also depends on what distance of the jump
That's
shot
what I
we're
was going to
talking
talk
about,
about.
and if
Yeah.
you wanna draw it, or if you wanna follow that, or you wanna stop, right? Or how hard you wanna play, or how yes. So it also depends on elevation, right? Because the further we have our object ball, the less elevation we need, and the closer, as Joanne said, right? We use a dart method to make sure that we elevate the cue as high as we can, which also depends on your height, because I cannot jump certain balls as Federer does because of the height. But there
Right.
is one unit rule that can be used for successful jumping, is when you think about the elevation and how high it has to be, right? Because what I see the biggest mistake a lot of people do, first of all, they like swerving, is this like make a curve instead of the hit, right?
Yes.
Not that. And
So
then
kind
they
of like
aim
you're talking about this, like a scoop type. Is that what you're
yeah, it
talking about?
has to be
Right.
like like darts, right? It's
Right.
very similar. So a lot of people aim way too low, and they actually do a miscue. So how to figure out where to aim and how high you have to elevate. So when we go, what we try to imagine is an exact center in the ball. So not like if we talk about flat surfaces, but if we talk about 3D model, you try to find the inside, like center, like inside center, exact center of the 3D, not a, right, not a flat surface of what we see on the cue ball.
Right.
We try to imagine it as a ball and try
If
to
it was
find a
transparent, you're saying, if you could see through it and look right
yes.
into the core of it. Okay.
Yes, so this is where we have to aim. This is how you can prevent miscuing or aiming too high or aiming too low. So this is exact center, and then no matter how high you are, you have to aim there, and you have to train your eye to see this spot in the ball. Like as you said, is if it would be transparent.
Okay. Okay, my the only advice that I really have, because they've covered that, because I was going to talk about the incline as well, is I think that for beginners, if you're beginning, the best thing that I had learned, as when I first tried to jump, is I think that being on the rail with your hand is nice because it kind of gives you some stabilization, uh, for beginners. And then as you get more proficient in jumping, um, then you move forward and you go as much as you can away from that as you get more stable. But I would always suggest starting, um, on the table, right? The border of the table. So you have some natural stabilization, um, there.
Can
I don't know. Does that sound good? Yeah.
I'll add something as well.
Sure.
When I teach beginning players that are just pretty early on and they're just beginning to learn how to just stop the cue ball, draw the cue ball, follow, and so on. And they very often they'll say, "Oh, I want to learn how to jump." So I like to start them off small, and I don't like to. I like to build confidence with the new students and the beginning students. So I won't have them look to jump an object ball right away. I'll actually take a, a cue stick, like a house cue that has already had a lot of dents on it, and put that across the table and just line up a bunch of balls and have them jump those object balls into a pocket over that cue stick.
Mhm.
But it's not as high, to get comfortable and to gain a little confidence.
Great one.
And then once they're able to do that, then we move on to jumping an object ball. Again, not aiming at another ball yet, but rather just aiming that ball over in order to scratch in a pocket. And build from.
That is a really great tip, because as you would when you first start shooting, you don't necessarily take the cue ball and hit the one ball to make it. You aim the cue ball into a pocket. If you're, for many 4, 5, 6-year-olds, that's how they start. They just aim, make sure that the cue hits the cue ball, goes into a pocket. So that's great. I do have a question, if that's okay with you ladies. Kyle wants to know, how firm do you hit the shot on different distances? So we're talking about here, he's talking about the firmness, where Kristina kind of touched on when she talked about hitting it solid. He wants to know basically how hard do you hit, and that I think that that's just a matter of practice. But please.
Do you want to
Well,
take it?
yeah, it depends on the distance, as I said, because the harder you hit it, the further it's going to jump,
Mhm.
right? And a lot of times, like especially the object ball is standing next to the rail, and you're jumping there. So basically, you're not making a solid contact with the object ball, but only hit, quarter, maybe half, which save a lot of speed on the cue ball, which means that a lot of times you're going to jump off the table. That's what happens a lot of times. So especially when the object ball next to the rail, you don't want to hit it firm, right? And
Right.
if it's a long distance, you got to train this balance combination between just barely to go above, not to hit it way too hard. Otherwise, you will end up with a cue ball outside of the table. So this is a matter of the distance and a matter of the situation. my
Sure.
answer.
And you have
Yeah.
to practice that because you're going to have to get a feel for what yours is going to be different from everyone else's, just like following, your stroke is different from everyone else's. So Joanne, go
Like
ahead, because we have another
just
question after this from Sandra.
a little bit to what Kristina was saying, as far as depending upon where that object ball is, you're going to have to learn over the course of trial and error and getting bitten a few times where you do jump that cue ball off the table to say, you know what, maybe this is not the right time to jump. Maybe now I need to reanalyze and say, you know what, this is not the best shot here. The object ball is in a bad place. It's too close. I have to jump too hard, too high, too fast. It doesn't figure to work out for me here. So maybe then you're going to determine, maybe I need to do a masse, or maybe I need to do a kick shot. So,
Yeah.
and you'll see the pros very often. I mean, I know for myself, just because we're jumping doesn't necessarily mean that we're always jumping to pocket the ball. So very often I'll jump to play safe, because even if I made that shot, there's not necessarily going to be a good return for me. I'm not going to try to make a ball only to get rehooked and maybe not have a jump shot even after that, or leave myself a tough kick shot. So very often might be jumping to actually hit half the ball and send that ball someplace else to hide the cue ball and so on. So there's a lot of nuances to the whole jumping business, just like there is to kicking. So it's a lot bigger than just
I love kicking.
Getting over that object ball that is blocking you. So
thank you again for solid advice, Joanne, as always. We had a few come in here. William Reyes, Joanne's father. Harvey taught me how to jump. Now I forgot how to kick. Very cute. All right, so Sandra Costin wants to know, what is your advice for jumping with a full length cue versus a jump cue? And Joanne, you want to take this first, and then we go to Kristina.
Because when I was playing in the beginning, all those years ago, was long before Kristina was even like a thought in her parents' minds. So I've got a couple of years on her. Earl Strickland was the first one to use his full regular cue stick to jump. Cloth was different. The balls were a little different. The whole deal was different. Certain kinds of jumps were able to be made. And then what was happening in the beginning was that people were breaking the stick down and just using the shaft and doing something like this in the air and holding the cue stick like this and doing this kind of method, sort of like the dart method. But to jump with your whole cue, it required great skill to do that, and a good deal of strength to make that happen because of the equipment being different. And using a regular tip, that was another thing. It was just a regular leather tip. So it depended upon how strong your backhand was, how you could get into that cue ball to make that happen. You didn't see a lot of players back then doing that. There were just a handful that were able to jump with their own cue.
Okay.
So
thank you.
If that helps.
Thank you. If she's asking something else, please feel free, Sandra. If you're asking something else, anybody, if we're not answering the questions properly, please revise your question. We'll be more than happy to. Oh. All right. Well, that might work. All right. I look a little foggy. That's okay. It's fine. Kristina, thoughts on that? Advice for jumping with a full length cue versus a jump cue.
So my thought on that is, why would you jump with a? Let's start with, why would you jump at all with a breaking cue, like full length cue? And my answer would be, a lot of times, right, we're not hooked the full ball, right? If we're hooked like the full ball or half of the ball, then it's going to be pretty hard to jump with a full length cue. I mean, why would you take a risk, right? But let's say if you hooked only quarter or a little bit, and for some reason you're not feeling comfortable with masse, you can use full length of the cue, right? Which wouldn't give you as much height in the jumping, but it would keep a lot of accuracy. So if you hook only quarter of the ball or just a little bit, you can try to use your full length cue and jump, because this will save you a lot of accuracy, because the height is not going to be as high. Can I say that? I'm not sure, but also depending on the distance, right? But because if we talk about same size of same side of a table, one side of a table, right? When it's close to each other, you will never you don't ever want to use your full length cue, because you have to hit hard, right? Which makes the cue travel very fast and very far, right? So we talk about, if we have balls on the different sides of the table and we're hooked just a little bit, quarter, as I said, or a little bit, you can use your full length cue to jump to keep the accuracy.
So Sandra did respond, and she said tournament rules. So I'm guessing they're allowing jump shots, but not jump cues. Would be my guess as to how she's saying that.
That's a typical
Yeah,
thing. A lot of
sometimes.
places only allow full length cues.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you can use a jump cue, but you can jump with your regular cue if you want to. Or
Yeah, I just,
like,
for me, I'm just not a great fan of that. I mean, if you're allowing jumping, you should be allowed jump cues, right?
This is
Why
part of
make
the
it more difficult? Yeah.
spoken about. There are too many rules, and we need one body of rules all
We
over.
talked about that. Just get the
Ah.
WPA rule set in here and call it a day, right? Because even my
Some
tour,
get all the
we
same.
modified it. Yeah, yeah. I think that's what we're going to do. Sandra said yes. That's what she's talking about. So we're gonna. I think we should veer away a little bit from maybe just jumping, and Kristina also had a so she has the 8 ball on the rail, and then I think the 10 ball, so the 8 ball is there, and then the 10 ball is kind of right by the pocket. So if you could picture, just say the second diamond here, and then this is like right by the pocket. And then she is low ball, because this was a striped, if I remember correctly. And what she did was she hit, we're just going to call it the 7 ball because I don't remember the number, but she hit her low ball or her solid ball off of the ball that was sitting here, so that she would have room then to make sure that she can get the 8 ball in that pocket. So does anybody have any shots that they see come up really frequently that they could give some advice on? So Kristina is basically saying, look, this ball is here. A lot of people won't think. They'll just think, okay, let me just make my ball, but they won't think about actually getting that ball away and out of the pocket, so at least you can do something with the 8 ball in that pocket. And Kristina, I just took a glance at that video as it came through the feed, but was that fairly accurate?
yeah.
Okay, all right. So if you go to Kristina's page, there'll be that video will be on there. Check it out, and if you have any questions, put it in here, and I'll see if I can get it over to Kristina. But what I want to talk a little bit more about when it comes to coaching is more of the beginner. I know you both are extremely advanced, but more of the beginner, intermediate, APA 5-6 type stuff. Common mistakes that people make, the most common mistakes that people make, or things that people forget to do, such as Kristina had showed us. Anything at all, just, put it out there. People want to talk about carom shots. That's a little bit more advanced, but those are fun. Many times breaking out balls depends on where you hit that cluster versus just going into willy-nilly. Yes, true. Definitely. So anybody, feel free to start. We have about 10 minutes.
So I'll just say, if we're going, depending upon the level of the player, if you want to talk about an APA, let's say a 5 or a 6 even, it's a good round number to talk about as far as that level is concerned. And we know there's variances with that, of course. depending on what town you're in and how well the people around you are playing and so on. But let's just take that as a baseline. I think a very, very big thing once they get to be that level is they're continually thinking about how they're going to be like Jason Shaw and how they're going to be like Filler, and they're going to make these great long shots continually over and over again. And when in actuality, right now, this minute, they actually have it in their hands, if they choose to really work on becoming a master of what I like to call the basic, simple, more, the shots you're supposed to make, the shots you're expected to make, the hangers, the shot that you should be able to say, if I choose to, I will never miss this ball for the entire day. That level of a shot. Now, how easy does that need to be? It needs to be pretty easy to be able to bet on that, right? But if they actually internalize that and they really make a plan of that and they say it out loud and they put their mind to it, they could be as good at that as Filler, as Shaw, almost overnight, just from making the decision. And you know how that's done?
How?
Kristina, maybe Kristina wants to tell us how that's done. Because I have an actual system for how that's done. What you need to say to yourself to make that happen. There's a couple of things you have to not do. So should I throw the ball to you?
Yeah,
I think you both play differently, so I would
Yeah,
say, Joanne, feel free to continue, because you have different ways of playing, different styles, so to speak.
Sure. You don't overcook it. In other words, don't hit it so hard because you're forsaking the shot for your position, right? Because then you're making that pocket way smaller, and now all of a sudden it's not a shot you're going to make every time.
Right. So hit
Right?
it just as hard as you need to.
Correct. So you're not looking to overdo. That is the most common reason why you see certain types of shots getting missed. Because people do that. Ego gets in the way and gets involved. And they say, I'm
a
so
little bit
close,
of passion.
close, right? So close to this ball. Oh, I can put it to part of the pocket. Then they become cheating the pocket. So they cheat the pocket, they hit too hard. And now all of a sudden, that shot they should have made 100 times in a row. Now they're only making it 90 times in a row. Well, I'm going to tell you something. The person who, and I'll take my dad's words because these are his words, because this is what he taught me. I don't take credit for this. Harvey Mason, he's the genius. If you don't do that, if you don't cheat the pocket and you don't overhit, you're going to make the ball. And now, guess what? Now you at least have a segment of your game at a level 6, as great as the greatest players in the world. You can do it. They very often, though, their ego gets involved, and then they think that they can do something else. Big mistake.
Gotcha.
Don't do.
Gotcha. Yes.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. There's a lot of times they hit the ball a lot harder. Actually, Sharavari talks about that. He talks about only hitting it as hard as you need to. Some people get it's not only ego, but some people get really, really like passionate when playing, and sometimes anxiety kicks in, and that is a huge problem. So you need to get that nervous system down and be more mindful.
Right.
For me, my I would say consistency is absolutely the key to anything. And this is going to sound ridiculous, and then I'm going to go right over to Kristina, but being consistent in whatever you do, and I'm just going to like throw this over to somebody that I talked to the other night about this. So if you basically want to lose a pound by the end of the week, and there's a 2,000 calorie a day diet, what you want to do is, you know, that by eating 1,800 calories a day, you're going to lose that pound. But instead you do 1750. You're basically you're inconsistent. You're leaving room for variables. And when you leave room for variables, you leave room for error. The more variables they are, the more errors there could be. So being consistent in your routine when you practice, and doing the same thing on the table, being consistent constantly, is definitely a key, because then when you're not consistent, you feel when something's off. When you're down on your shot, you get back up and you step in. You see a lot of players do that. They don't feel comfortable. They know that something's off. They know that their foot might not be in good position, or they're not in proper alignment. So for me, I think that the biggest thing is, when you're feeling as though your game's off, just go right back to your fundamentals, video yourself, and see if anything's changed. And people, except Kai was saying, drill, practice, practice, practice. I don't know what either one of you think, before I pass this on to Kristina, and what her thought is about what we're talking about. But I think that over practicing is another big issue, because at first you're doing great, then all of a sudden you're going down into a slump and you're getting frustrated, and then you walk away with a sour taste in your mouth. Take practice for 15 minutes, a half hour. I personally like 15-minute practices, and then walk away and then come back. So those are the big things for me, is being consistent will get you to where you want to go. And don't worry about how fast, and don't compare yourself to anyone else's progress, because that's just destruction on your part. Kristina, what do you think you see like big mistakes that people may make, or things that would be really great for somebody to improve?
So, out of my experience, I gave a lot of lessons this year, especially to APA players and BCA players.
To what players? I'm sorry.
I said APA and BCA and
APA. I'm
NAP.
sorry.
So it's lack of routine and lack of awareness, because awareness, in my opinion, is the first thing that will lead you to improvements, right? We can talk about, how to keep your elbow, how to keep your wrist, how to, like, a lot of things, right? But it's all the end result of awareness, right? Because a lot of times I tell, well, why you do that? I ask why you do, for example, why do you step and then you move your feet 5 times instead of figuring out the alignment when you're up there, and then going into the line instead of walking from a side, then trying to find comfortable position for your body. And then the answer, you wouldn't believe, but 90% of answers like, I don't know, I never realized I did that, right? So it's like complete unconsciousness when you play pool. And a lot of times, it's same, when you have life, when you live life, people are so unconscious, and they do a lot of things subconsciously, like autopilot. As you
Out
said
of
about
poor habit. Yep.
poor habit,
Yep.
like same about diet. You eat here, and then you eat here, and then you drink a little bit here, and then you don't realize that you eat so many calories during the day just because you're not conscious. For a lot of people, my parents are heavy smokers, cigarettes, right? Not vapes, cigarettes. And then, they can smoke without realizing 5 minutes later they just smoke, right? It becomes so subconscious. So how can you fix the habit or fix the bad habit if you don't even see that this the habit that you have, right? So my biggest advice would be always start with consciousness. Wake up when you play pool. Don't play autopilot, right? So, and for that, as you said, picking up your routine is a great way to not, go to autopilot playing, right? It's very important. So if you
Wow.
pick up routine, that starts with alignment, right? We have to make sure that you go behind the ball. You're not walking it from a side and going down, right? So you think about
Stepping into
everything.
your shot is what you're saying.
Yes. Yes. So we go back and then we step in the line. We have to think about, okay, right now I put my feet here and here. This is what I do every single ball. This is most of professional pool
Consistency.
players. That's what they
Yep.
do. Like it's they're not sleeping playing pool. You know what I mean? Like you're aware
Right.
about every single movement that you do. You have to engage your brain, making sure you're not losing this focus and missing easy balls. That's what happens. You miss easy balls because you're subconscious. You stand up and you don't remember what happened. How did I miss it? Right, where I've been. Well, you've been sleeping down there.
Another
Right.
thing is video yourself. Video yourself and maybe even two angles from behind, from the side, change it around.
But
Because you'll go back and you'll see why you missed that shot. And
but understand also, I mean,
that's really
Chris
great, Kristina.
and I
Really
both
great.
dads as our coaches, so we had this benefit from the time we're
Hi,
young.
Sean. Yes, sorry.
So that being said, most people that play this game and play this sport, they play for fun, right? The people that play on the APA, these are most of the time they're playing for fun and they're playing for enjoyment and they're playing because they really like it. Of course, they want to do it better because it's more fun when you do something better and you see a better result.
Right.
But if they don't have the opportunity to get with a good coach and get good training right away, they're going to suffer and they're going to struggle. And then you're going to hear these comments like, oh, but I just want to get into the zone when I play.
In the
Which
zone.
Instead, that is the unconscious, right?
Right.
So but it is so critical and so important to be able to be conscious when we play. But in order to be conscious, you have to really understand what it is that you're trying to do. Now, a lot of beginning players, they don't, and even these sixes, they don't know what it is they're really trying to do. They don't know what Kristina
And
just said.
I want to just say, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to say that we're not by any stretch of the imagination saying, oh, when we say, oh, these sixes, Joann's not meaning that in a negative way. She's just saying,
Not at all.
as opposed to professionals, I just want to clarify that. Yeah.
Let's clarify by saying I'm a golfer as well. I played golf straight through the years. I'm okay. I shoot in the 80s when I was playing all the time. That doesn't make me a professional. That would make me probably like an APA 7. Okay. But that did not mean I was a professional. And it did not mean that I had the same thought process when I would step over a golf ball as a top professional did. Of course not. And I didn't have that sort of training in that field either. But in order to get better, there is so much out there now. And that's really the number one thing today. Get good coaching. There's so many players around the country now that are doing this. I'm in Florida. Kristina just told me we're in Indiana with Vetter Gorst, her boyfriend. And there's so many great players all around, scattered around the country. Take advantage of it and get
also,
a few.
Yeah, go to the PBIA website, go to and look up someone near you, talk to people on Zoom if you want to see if you work, well with them. Have like a little Zoom call or something with somebody. I don't mean necessarily with the pros. You're very busy. Thank you for taking the time for this tonight. But yeah, find somebody and my thing, not to interrupt Joann, but my thing is find somebody that you feel comfortable with. You have to blend. You have to kind of mesh. Otherwise, you may take what they say. They say something, you might not like the way they say it. It's not. And then
That's true.
after Joann finishes, I have some advice about tournaments versus other things, but I'm gonna wait till Joann finishes. So please, sorry.
I was just thinking because before we began, I never knew that Kristina's dad coached her.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, that would be a great show for us to do one day, is the two dads here to talk about, because it's two totally different generations, right?
Right.
Coming into the game. So I think that's pretty cool.
Excuse me for 1 second. Somebody just said, I'm glad I started working with the dragon. You're talking about Kim. Kim Young is actually he certified me. So yes, he's an excellent coach. Absolutely. Let's see. Joe sounds like a father, William Reyes. What I was going to say is a lot of people, they want to enter, tournaments, and instead of, so they'll pay a $75 entry fee or whatever it may be, and play an even race. And that's great. You're probably not going to cash. And they say, well, at least I learned something from watching these other players. And if you're always going to pick up on something, you don't have to necessarily enter a tournament to learn something. You could watch the players for free as a spectator. I'm not against going into a $75 or $100 tournament, playing straight up races to 7-5 or 9-7 or whatever it may be. But I would say get coaching. If you're going to go every week to a tournament, skip a week, go for a lesson, and then take what you've learned, practice it, and then go into the tournament and track your own progress that way. So kind of alternate a little bit on that, because
That's a very good suggestion.
yeah, because a lot of people go in there like, well, I can learn from this guy, and this guy's going to teach me that, or this woman, is going to tell me that. But you know what? You're putting $75 or $200 or $500 into it, and you're not really gaining anything. And that's why we have Kristina out there, and Margaret out there, and Joann, and this, the show, what we're doing right now, and my show starting up in January, and we're giving you advice. These two wonderful professionals are giving you amazing free advice, and I say definitely take it, for sure. Is there anything else? Because I have one more question or two more questions, and I think we should probably end for the night so I can get my snack.
There's a nice question saying, what method would you suggest other than Mighty X drill for improving your stroke?
I was gonna go there. Yeah, Kyle.
The answer would be, there is another other method than studying books to learn how to be a doctor. If there's any easier way or funnier way, it's the problem. Like, the thing is, if you want to have a high quality game and reliable fundamentals, right, that not gonna crack under the pressure, it's not fun to do that, to work on that. There's no magic pill that, a lot of players want this magical drill that will help them to become better. But there is no such thing as a magical drill. There is, you just have to go and work and put the work in there, right? But of course you can sell saying, oh, this drill will improve your game and get you in another level, but it's not going to be true. Whoever tells you that, never believe them. Because every professional pool player know that there is not such a thing like one drill that will get me to the next level. It's a combination of things, and again, it's awareness. And when you practice and you work on certain thing, you know what you're practicing. You're not coming there and just hit the ball subconsciously, unconsciously, right? You don't want to do that, right? So Mind X drill is I'm not, I don't know about you, Joann, but me and Fatter, and I know every single European till they now practice this drill. This is not fun, right? But it's like, if you want to lose weight, you have to go and work out. Not everybody enjoy that, but you have to do that. There's no other way.
Right, you have to eat properly. You have to be mindful, like you were talking about. And mindful is another part of pool, right, Joann?
There absolutely, and there is no shortcut to getting better and becoming proficient and honing your skills than putting the time in at the table and correctly, and doing drill and really working, digging deep into every very basic shot and building up from there and doing it. There's no other way. There
I
just
have
isn't.
There's not a way. That's what I'm saying. It's just, there's just nothing else. If you
No,
want to learn how to play pool, you have to work hard. Like if we talk
Yeah.
about if you want to go onto the very good level, yeah,
right.
Mindset X has to be your best friend, right? And it's not about what drill you do. It's about that every single ball you're baying with your hand, with your eyes, with your mind. It's not that you're just unconsciously shooting balls. It doesn't matter if you shoot one single ball in a pocket, you shoot 90x or you're running out 10 balls. It doesn't matter as long as you're every single ball in a ball with, living throughout the whole
should like
shot
be the
with this.
ball.
Be the ball, yeah, you have to be like football players, right? Like, first of all, why they drink so much water? Because focus requires a lot of water, right? You can't be focused and dehydrated, right? You have
Right.
to be hydrated. And then why they take breaks, like every 15 to 20 minutes, right? Because it's impossible to maintain focus on a high level more than 15, 20, 30 minutes,
Right. You're
right? So
kind of
this
almost in like that
shows,
fight or flight response. Your parasympathetic nervous system is
yes,
actually high. Yeah.
yes. So it shows you that they are with this ball every single second, not a single time. They're like, okay, maybe my hand will pocket the ball automatically. No, yes, muscle memory is great, but you have to be with the ball every single time. You have to be high focus, and then it doesn't matter what you do, what ball you're shooting, as long as you maintain that every single ball, you're gonna improve.
Yeah. I so far I've pretty much agree with everything, and I'm not even close to pro. Um, I'm sitting here and I'm absorbing everything. This is great for me. I do have a question for the viewers. For the viewers, when I was talking about, take a lesson, go to a tournament, take a lesson. If you really want to be there and learn, take a lesson, go to. How many players have been going to tournaments? And I'm not against the even races. Please do not get me wrong. I'm not saying don't go and play an even race if you're an APA 3 or 5 or 6 or whatever it may be against, people who are 700 plus Fargos. But what I am saying is, do yourself a favor, get a notebook and jot down, you've gone to this tournament, you've gone to this tournament, you put this amount of money in, highlight it, and then after the whole year, see what you've put into tournaments, see what you've gotten out of tournaments, okay? And what your skill level was there when you first started. Just say that you were a 3, are you a 5 or a 6 now? And what's your winning percentage? So think about where your money's going, because I love playing tournaments and I'll get crushed a very good portion of the time. Invest in a clinic, invest in a coach, invest in an instructor for sure. Invest in something that is going to give you something solid to work on. I cannot stress that enough, and I'm probably not going to be well liked for this, and it's okay, because I think that
Yes, you are. Great advice.
what is that?
I said, yes, you are going to be liked because it's great advice.
I'm just saying, if I were to take 2 people the same skill level and one goes to a tournament for a $40 or $50 buy-in every week and doesn't take lessons and doesn't practice at home, drills from online or instructor or whatever, the person here, I will almost guarantee everything. The person here who gets coaching sessions every month or every other week or wherever it may be will most likely, just the percentages are higher in the favor that they are going to not only move up more quickly, they're going to be better shots, and understand things a lot better. Do yourself a favor, get a notebook, do it for 2 months if you want, do it for a year if you want. New Year's coming up. No advice to start? What is this? This is the famous Andy Gow. Thank you for the great answer. Love it. Kyle's thanking everybody for the answer. Thank you for your time.
Kyle. I just met Kyle.
Mr. Pickles, yes.
Yeah.
We didn't have the great avenue to get advice from people who are at the top of the sport. Thank you, ladies, and effort into whip. You're very, very welcome, Kyle. You're very, very welcome. Let me see. When you miss a shot in a tournament, how much will you practice that shot when you get home? And if we could, we can just say that really quickly. If you miss a shot in a tournament, how much do you practice that shot when you get home? Sometimes, I'm just going to say, sometimes you make it immediately after. I don't think it's necessarily the shot. Sometimes it's adrenaline. Sometimes it's, like she would say, ego. Sometimes it's getting up before you've even finished executing your shot. So sometimes it's not the shot. Sometimes it's just you not, as Kristina was saying, and Joann, not being mindful of what you're doing and taking a shot for granted. So
it's not about practicing the same shot over and over again. It's about figuring out, why did I miss it?
why
If
did
you
you do
figure
wrong?
out why
Right.
did you miss it, you can practice hours on this reason, but not on a shot particular that you've missed.
You've only missed for two reasons. You've either missed because of your aim or because of your delivery. Those are the
There's
two
no other.
reasons. That's it. So, Joann, how many do you want to? Is it the same thing?
Just I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, look,
Are you going to go practice that shot for 20 minutes or 25 times just because you've missed it?
It's about, again, we'll go right back to what we were saying before. You have to have a pre-shot routine. You have to understand real fundamentals. You can't, and if you're going to practice and you're going to practice things that are wrong, you're just going to reinforce your bad habits. And that's why I'll say it just again, what you said, Gloria, about getting good instruction and getting that solid foundation. You build a house on a solid foundation, it has a very good chance to get nice and strong and grow big.
Right.
If it's on shaky ground, it's going to be a problem.
Right. Absolutely. And if you see yourself, there's a lot of people that say, hey, I've been in a slump, like mentally, I just can't seem to focus. It actually, for me, it doesn't really come from, for me, the reason you're in that slump is your mind. Your mind is not on the same level of what you're shooting. Sometimes, like Kristina, again, Kristina just gave such great advice tonight too, Joann. You gave amazing advice too, but when she talks about, being present in that shot, the being there, people are always, instead of thinking about the actual shot and visualizing things, they're thinking, am I going to make it? Am I going to win? What happens if I miss? Like, there are all these negative thoughts going through your mind, and you're now setting yourself up for failure. I've seen that 1,000 times.
Sure, have to fill your brain with thoughts.
Do you agree, Kristina?
How do I do what it is I'm looking to do here?
Yeah, and you're not thinking. You're thinking about everything but the shot.
Right.
Thoughts on that, Kristina?
Yeah, my thought about that is, if you literally, first of all, if you build this pre-shot routine and if you know what to focus on, because a lot of times people say focus, be focused, but what are you focused on, right? You have to figure out, what am I focusing on? And majority of pool players, professional pool players, focusing on their fundamentals, right? In a certain part that normally doesn't work for them, right? That might go out because of the muscle memory is not strong enough, right? To remember, it's not automatic. So you have to look after that. So this is your focus. And if you're going to be in the shot thinking, okay, I have to do that, right? Because if I tell myself, raise my hand and then go on the right, on the left, how can I not do that? Because I'm thinking that I have to do that. There's zero chance I'm going to, just forget about that. So as long as you stay engaged, you have to find the keys that helps your brain to stay engaged. For example, I know a lot of players counting their warm-up strokes, like going down and think like 1, 2, 3, pause, and then backswing, pause, shoot. They're literally saying with me. You literally say it like out loud in your brain. This way, you're engaging your brain, connecting it with what you do, and this lets you stay in the shot and avoid this unfortunate mistakes when you just miss the easy shots or miss easy positions,
When
right? So
when
we
I
have to
was
not just
oh,
say,
sorry.
yep,
No, go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead.
not just have to find what you're focusing on. Otherwise, you will always struggle with lack of focus.
Um, and I was talking to somebody about that the other day, and we were talking about consistency, and I'm good. And um, when we were talking about it, we have the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I cannot stress enough the power of the pause. I cannot begin to stress enough that pause, that 1, 2, 3. So you're saying that 1, 2, 3, like counting aloud, doing that is important.
I'm not saying it is 1, 2, 3. It might be one. It might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It is very different for everyone. I'm just saying as an example, what you can focus on, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily focus on that. It's just one of the things people focus on. Use like a little tool or key for their focus, right? You can, I don't know, focus on your breathing, but it's not actually really helping your shot making, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
have to focus on something about your hand, about your stroke, right? You can focus on the contact point, you can focus on the smoothness of your backswing, on something,
Right.
right, that helps you to stay engaged with the shot. Otherwise, a lot of times, if you don't know exactly what you're focusing on, it might just, turn off. And then once it turn on, you already missed the ball.
I'm really big on the set pause finish, which is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the consistency of it. But the 1, 2, that that backswing, we talked about aim and or delivery being the two reasons. Um, when you're down on that shot and you now you go back and you're ready to take that shot, it's at that second that it gives you that small window to say I'm ready or I'm not ready and I need to get back up. And that's the pause. That's the set finish, a set SPF, set pause finish. So the power of the pause is like, to me, probably one of the most important parts of um they're all three of them are extremely important, but uh um
Yeah.
staying down and and pausing uh is just such a big part. It's something that's helped me immensely, and I didn't realize how integral that was for my personal own game. um so
Or, Gloria,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yes,
I am, it is Hanukkah and I have
yeah,
family here. I'm
yes,
going to be having to say goodnight here.
thank you.
We're over our time, I know. We
No,
enjoy this.
no worries. And I thank you again for coming on, and and giving us amazing advice. Maybe next time we could do a little bit more. Joann did a clinic. So I don't know if both of you, I don't know if who has a table where, but um have one of you on the table and like literally show us what you're talking about, because it's so much easier for people, because we're visual people, obviously, you
We
know.
did that before in New York, remember?
Yes,
At gyms.
yes, yes.
Yeah, that was fun.
Okay. um Kristina, do you have
Well,
anything to add that you think may help, or do you want to talk to us? Joann, if you have to go,
I'm gonna say good night, everybody.
okay.
Christina, good to see you.
Merry Christmas. Good night.
Oh, we didn't do, but we'll do it again. We'll do it next time. It's getting to know the pro, but we're gonna do it next time to just to ask a couple questions. But no worries. All right, Miss Joann. Um, do you have anything to add, Christina, that you think would be really helpful before we end up closing out? Something that, or you could save it for the coaching, the lessons. And I guess we'll ask about that. When is that starting up, the coaching, or has it started already?
It is started, so it's basically online coaching. And we had one student for a couple of months to see how it's going to work, because I had this idea for quite a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure how it's going to work. And we had one student for quite a long time, and it feels like it's doing good. And we decided to make it public, see, how it's going to work, because we kind of have our own system, based on my own experience when I changed my own stroke in pandemic. And we analyzed like stroke of literally every single pool player, professional pool player, and why they're successful or why they're inconsistent, why they are consistent, why they're benefiting in front of some other players. So we literally broke down the whole game in all these little screws, and then we had to build it back. Even though I won world championships and multiple women tournaments with my old stroke, at some point I realized that to maintain this level, I have to practice 6 hours a day, 5 hours a day. I have to put a lot of work in to maintain. Meanwhile, I'm not growing. I'm just maintaining. I realized that I hit my ceiling and I can go further no matter what I do. So this is where pandemic hit, and we start working with my father again, because obviously last couple of years I spent a lot of times traveling. I was practicing with myself on my own, so there was nobody to tell me that I'm doing something wrong. So,
Right.
and then we start to practice again together. And then he looks at my backswing, and then he looks at my wrist, and he's like, "Well, this is not right." And I'm like, "Well, that's how I've played all my life. I don't know any
You had
different."
to relearn
So,
everything
and
and practice it
yeah,
over.
yes. So, we tried to fix one thing, but it turned out that you can't fix one thing. It
It
has to
rolls
be just
over
destroyed.
into everything. Yeah.
So I spent solid month hitting one single ball, no object ball. And then talking about mind TX drill, for another 2 months, I hit only one ball and a straight in mind TX drill, right? So 3 months I didn't play a single shot with a cut, right, with an angle. So, and then, 3 months later, but also to say that we didn't know what is the right thing, what you have to pay attention on, right? We had to look at somebody else's stroke, right? We had to analyze ourselves. So there was nobody to tell us what to do and what is the right way. That's why it took quite a long time for us to realize what's the right thing. So, and then I changed my stroke and I was amazed. It blew out
How
my mind.
elevated your game.
Yes, it's just changing the whole perspective of how I view the game before,
Right.
right? And then it was just eye opener for me, why I was so inconsistent in my game, right? I almost felt like a fraud because I don't know if I'm going to play good or not now, because I don't know exactly what I have to do to play good. That's what I tell about awareness, right? That can come only if you pay attention on things, but you can only know what to pay, like you can only pay attention on if you know what to pay attention on. Right?
Right.
So it's a kind of, you know this kind of circle, a trap that you get, that you can't really focus because you don't know what to focus on,
Right.
right? If
Right.
you don't know what to focus on, you can't really focus. So
Ex- exactly. And Timothy Morris wrote, "Don't rehearse the curse," and that's from Kim Young, one of the PBIA instructors. Don't rehearse the curse, and that's what you're talking about right now. Like, don't do the same poor bad habits over and over. Randy, get lick, get liquor. I have so much problem with his name. Also says, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
yes,
So and
yes.
and and,
If you
and
just
both of
practice,
those things are amazing.
if your
I
heart working hard is great, but if you work hard with your hands, not with your brain, it's not going to get you far.
Right.
That's the reality of life. And I feel really sorry for some people that really put a lot of work into that, but it's just work without analyzing, without digging deeper and understanding why. And a lot of times, for example, people take lessons from me, and I tell them, this, and I ask, why do you think this is true? Because they agree with me. I'm like, I
Oh,
might be
yes.
wrong.
Mhm.
Why do you agree with me? Right? We have to figure out why. And I can give this, answer because I went through that myself. I know why. So anytime, my personal advice, you go and take a lesson from someone. If somebody tells you do that, ask them why. And if they tell you because I do that, or because it's the right thing, or you know, the on my opinion, professional, instructor, or like a good player that are aware about their game, they have to be able to answer why I think this benefits the most, and this is the stroke you have to learn, right? So me and my dad ended up, digging this way ourselves and figuring out, and I have a perfect, juxtaposing my old stroke and my new stroke, and I can see all the difference, all the benefits, all advantages and disadvantages. So, and then funny thing, later on, my dad decided to change his stroke because he had the same issues I had before. But when I already moved in here, so he sends me the videos and video call me and say, look at here, and so we kind of flip the position from student to a coach. It was really fun experience. So yeah, and then we decided to open online school because we have exact method how to come from A to B. Yes, it's not fun, as I said, it's not a magic pill. It's a work, but a lot of people play their whole life, 20, 30, 35 years,
And they're
and
still
they
at the
hit the
same level.
ceiling in
Yeah,
this.
they
Yes, and a
plateau.
lot of
Yep.
them hit plateau, and a lot of them, even though they tell you, oh, I'm okay, it's just fun, blah blah blah, no, if they come to take lesson from you, they're competitive, they want to be better, and no matter what they tell you, it's not true. They care how they play. It's not only for fun, because if you're deeply passionate about who you are, a competitor, you want to play
Oh,
better,
you're
you
breaking up
hate
a little
losing.
bit. What did you say, Christina? You broke up a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, now I can.
Yes, I just wanted to say that, you're a competitor, you hate losing, and it's very natural, right? So, what hurts you more, or what is harder to accept, that you have to work hard for a couple of months. We're not talking even about a couple of years. You work hard for a couple of months, you dedicate your focus, your time, right? And then you progress. Or what is harder, doing that, or knowing all your life that you will never progress, or you spend all
Right.
your
Us
life
just staying at the
not
same.
even understanding, yes, not even knowing how can I progress. So what is tougher to accept?
Right.
That you have to work hard for a couple of months, or that all your life, you obviously did not the right thing, because you didn't get where you want to.
And another
So
thing that's like really really huge is, if you're gonna go for the lesson and you're gonna pay for the lesson and you're gonna take your time, pay attention. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time, the instructor's time. I mean, the instructor's getting paid. But if you really want to take it seriously, do that. And another thing is, a lot of people, this is so big, they give up way too soon. Don't think that you're not going to. You're going to be able to find yourself getting better at some point. And if you're in a slump, seek advice. You know, seek advice from an instructor. Um, a lot of people, remember you were talking about like plateauing. It's because they feel as though they're never going to get better, and then they just say, well, I'll just play, you know, this league or that league, and I'll have a night out with the guys or the girls or whatever it may be. And they've just wasted a lot of time that they could have been at the table improving. So for the 4 or 5 months that it's going to take for you to realign, and refocus, okay, and regain, and then, like she was saying, progress, just try it. What's 3 or 4 months going to do in the course of, you know, the
Your
30
whole
years
life.
that you've been exactly doing the same thing? And that's what I did. You know, even at my age, I said, you know what, I want to go back and I want to learn how, because this is another thing. People will make a shot, and if you ask them, how did you make that shot, or what did you use on it, a lot of people will say, I don't know. And I've experienced that talking to people when they make it. They're just so used to that hit and that stroke that they don't even know what they put on the ball, whether it was top, bottom. They're just used to making the same shot. And I talked to an instructor about that as well. And it's really important to know where you're hitting the ball, why you're hitting the ball, how hard or soft to hit the ball. Really be in the present moment and really focus on what you're doing. Uh, Mind and body, if they're separate, you're it's just not going to work. They have to be
Yeah.
together during that time. They have to be together always. So, I think we need to do one of these again. Do you like doing these? Because I like these. I do. I
You're
like
asking me
them.
about this. Yeah, I really like talking about stuff
Yeah.
like that, and we could definitely catch up and do one-on-one and talk about
Yeah.
that more.
Get Joann back in
Let us know.
too. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
let us know if you.
I'm gonna be interviewing again. So, uh, Kristina, let me know when you're available. Joann, I want to interview Joann again. I want to interview Kelly because she had a pretty good year. You all had a great year. Joann just came back, right, from not playing pool for forever, and she did really, really great. And you changed, a lot, and now, you have your own, um, uh, you're doing lessons. So yeah, I don't think, did I ever interview you? I don't think I ever did interview you. I interviewed,
No.
I interviewed Joann, Kelly, Margaret. Oh my gosh, I interviewed pretty much everybody but you. I don't think I knew you then, though. It was during the pandemic. So we have to get you on for an interview. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. All right. And we want to thank for Women in Pool. This is not personal, but we'd like to thank Horo Tips. If you'd like to try one, they're jump break tips. Please feel free to contact me. And these are for sale. And when we sell these, the women here in Pool get to uh, to to split up a little bit of cash. So you put a little bit of cash in our pockets by doing that. I don't take the credit for it. I give back to the ladies, but Horo was our very first sponsor, and I'd like to say thank you for sponsoring us. We do appreciate it. So I think that that's it for the night, because I could probably sit here for the next 4 hours with my bottle of water, and that's just me. Absolutely, we'd love to talk about our favorite sport all day long, right? Yes, Kyle, absolutely. So before we go, we have a question. If anybody wants to try to answer it, Kurt, can you open that? This is a women in pool poster. This is when we had our very first tournament, women in pool, and it was 650 and under Fargo, and the winner was Ashley Nicole Benoit, and Rachel Walters was runner up, and it was $2,000 for first place. That's not bad, huh? We had a full field of 64 women. So here's the poster. We made a collage of the women. It's pretty cool, right, Kristina? Have you seen that?
Oh no, that looks amazing.
Yeah. I was like, I think I'm gonna make a collage, and then Alyssa said, "Hey, why don't you sell them?" So what we're gonna do for anybody tonight who stuck by us, what year? The first person to answer right here. What year did Kristina Tkach officially become pro? These are expensive posters, and you get a women in pool. So we're gonna give this a 1.5 minute time to answer. Anybody who's watching, Rick Glass Cox said 2017.
2017.
Okay.
Actually, it's a very tricky question because, you asked me that in the private message, and I don't even have the official date when I turned pro
Oh.
bec-
Okay. Hold on.
because, I feel like I've been pro since the very, very beginning.
Okay.
It's not like, I considered some year for me to become professional.
Okay. So hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna text you something. You know what? I know the answer to this one. First person to answer it. What cue? What does Kristina use for her jump cue? Since we were talking about jump shots. What does Kristina have in her bag? What does she use for a jump cue? 30-second time limit. I can see everybody Googling right now or looking at your page. Rush, break, cue. All right.
A rush though.
With the rush, is it blue?
It's black and blue, yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. All right, so Tommy Bays, you actually get a women in pool. If you want it, you get a women in pool poster. Let me know what your address is. Send it to womeninpool@gmail.com. Womeninpool@gmail.com. Oh, Sandra came in with Air Rush right after. And I'll mail that out to you and free, and I will I'll get to you on that. So good answer. Thank you, Sandra. It was just a few seconds too late, but yes, it's the Air Rush. It was the one that she used when we were in the opening, in the very beginning of the jump shot. So I decided to use that so that people who were in the beginning would have seen it. Did that. So anyway, all right, everybody. Thank you for everything. Do you think I should give away a Horo tip, Kristina? What do you think? Since they're our very first sponsor. Well, Christina's with Predator, so but
Yeah.
this is like for us. So I'll give away a gold rush. Christina's not gonna. She's gonna be honest about this. This is not gonna be a pool related question, but why not? No, actually, no, it is. Kristina said earlier, this way nobody can cheat. what is one of the biggest, you can answer any of them, and I'll send out a gold rush right here, this one. What's one of the biggest reasons people end up not making a shot? That's what we talked about, right, Kristina?
Yeah.
See who's paying attention. Okay, another 30-second time. No, we'll give 45 seconds because it takes time to type. You could just type just 3 words of it. $30 per tip. Bad fundamentals.
Not exactly bad fundament. There is a specific thing.
Yeah. So I wanted to see if Kristina said no, she's not going to pass that. So we got probably about
There was a
30
specific thing.
seconds. Mind control.
No, so the specific thing I
Oh,
said that
wait.
because
We have just a few seconds left. I want to see if I can. Come on. What'd she say? Come on. $30 going out the door. Go ahead, Kristina. What was it?
because you put an extra spin that you didn't want to put. Spin, guys.
Oh, Kyle just came in right after you answered with not knowing what they did wrong, which is it's actually one of the things. I'll give you partial credit for that, Kyle. I'll give you partial credit. He did say it's just a little too late because you did say that, not knowing what they did wrong, right?
Yeah, unconscious. Well, that's close, but if we talk about a specific question and specific
Yeah.
answer, it was
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. All right. So we did give one giveaway out tonight. The next time I'm going to have a bunch of things and we're going to see who's paying attention, who's not. So, everybody, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. And please share this if you can. Get us out there because we were getting, thousands and thousands of views. We're just starting back up again. And we want to make sure that we grow. Right, Kristina? We need to
right.
grow. Yeah, Christina's enthusiastic. Come on, Christina. I like to bust her chops a little bit. All right, here we go. I'm going to go get my snack. Christina's going to get something to drink, and she's probably going to go practice. I'm getting my makeup off and going in my jammies. So, Kristina, thank you. Joann, again, thank you. And I will be back potentially within a couple days. I guess we'll see what happens, right?
Yep.
All right. Everybody have a great night and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you,
Bye.
Christina. Bye. So long.